Welcome to T&T Episode 3, Two Oxford Guys. Well, I don't know about you, Taylor, but I'm feeling like a celebrity. After our last episode, we've had now close to 60 views on
Close
YouTube.
to 60 views. That's like just a small step away from close to 60,000 views.
Wow, yeah. So
And there might be a few other steps in there, but it's close to a step that's close to a step that's close to a step.
We are on our way to fame with this program, I can tell. And you know, I was looking at some of the other YouTube videos about the creation-evolution debate, and it's hard to believe, but there were other videos that actually had more views than ours.
Yeah.
Yeah. But we did get some feedback, though, didn't we?
Yeah. Even though we didn't get many in comparison, we still got some, and that's really what matters.
That's right.
So we really appreciated all the emails that we received, and we thought there was a couple words that we thought were really good and kind of go along with today's episode, so we'd like to share them. I don't understand the scientific minutiae of carbon dating and fossils, and I'm not sure I even have to. There was more going on in the debate than a mere exchange of scientific facts. More than anything, the Ham versus Nye debate is a clash in the war of epistemologies. Ham and I both come to the table with their own presuppositions.
Well, that is a good lead-in to our topic today, where we're going to be talking about two men who were very different in their views, in their presuppositions, but they did have something in common.
They were both professors at Oxford University.
That's right. And one lived a while ago, and one is still living today and still writing. The one who lived a while ago, his name was C.S. Lewis.
You may have heard of him.
Maybe. And the one who's living today is?
Richard Dawkins. And you've probably heard of him.
Well, Richard Dawkins, let's start with him. He was born in Nairobi, Kenya in 1941. He is now the Charles Simonyi Professor of the Public Understanding of Science at Oxford University. He specializes in evolutionary biology, and he's written some very well-known works, notably The Blind Watchmaker and The God Delusion. And those are books that have raised some interesting debates in our culture, wouldn't you say?
Definitely.
But he's also known in different circles for his writings and for his scholarship. And one of those titles that he has is one of the four horsemen of the new atheism. And that is one of the men we wanted to talk about today. And in relationship to what we talked about last week with worldviews and the debate on creation versus evolution, we kind of finished up asking the question, what evidence would it take for a person to change their mind? And Ken Ham received a lot of criticism for the comments he made during the debate, something to the effect that people were basically feeling that Ken Ham was closed-minded, and they were pretty vehemently opposed to the view that he gave there, because they felt he was closed-minded in what he was saying. Well, I'd like you now to look at a clip that we have of Richard Dawkins, just to get a feel for how does a guy like Richard Dawkins view the evidence, and particularly here in this clip, view the evidence concerning the existence of God.
So given that this is a big question, but given that the host of arguments don't work, what would it take for you to believe in God?
Well, I used to say it would be very simple. It would be, the second coming of Jesus, or a great big, deep, booming bass Paul Robeson voice saying, "I am God and I created." But I was persuaded mostly by actually Steve Zara, who's a regular contributor to my website, richarddawkins.net. He more or less persuaded me that even if there was this booming voice and the second coming in clouds of glory, the more probable explanation is that it's a hallucination or a conjuring trick by David Copperfield or something. He made the point that a supernatural explanation for anything is incoherent, that it just doesn't sort of, it doesn't add up to an explanation for anything. A non-supernatural second coming could be aliens from outer space. I mean, a superhuman, but not supernatural.
So
Clarke's third law, any sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic, magic being supernatural. If you were to fly a Boeing 747 back to the Middle Ages, you would be greeted as God. I mean, that would be, and similarly, an alien visitation, any aliens who could actually visit us would have to be so far beyond us in their technology that they probably could manipulate the stars to spell out words or geometric forms or something of that sort.
So that couldn't be enough. So what would persuade you?
Well, I'm starting to think nothing would, which in a way goes against the grain, because I've always paid lip service to the view that a scientist should change his mind when evidence is forthcoming. The trouble is, I can't think what that evidence would look like.
Well, obviously, Richard Dawkins is very open-minded about evidence. Based on that video clip, we can see that he just looks at evidence and goes wherever it leads.
That's not exactly what I got from the video, but to each their own.
Well, the point being, though, just like we've been kind of saying, and like the person who wrote in said, a lot has to do with the presuppositions you're starting with.
Mm-hmm.
And Richard Dawkins is starting from naturalism, and so he ends up with naturalism because he's constantly looking at it through that lens, always looking for a natural explanation. But it kind of closes him off to the possibility of the supernatural, as you could tell in that video clip. Well, that brings us to the next Oxford man, who actually for a time was closed off to the supernatural and described himself as an atheist for a while in his life. But he came to belief in Jesus Christ and in God, and so his name is C.S. Lewis.
C.S. Lewis was born on November 29th, 1898 in Belfast, Ireland. He taught at Oxford University for almost 30 years, after graduating there, after his studies focusing on literature and classic philosophy. Later on, he taught at Cambridge University. While at Oxford, he joined the literary discussion group known as the Inklings, including a variety of authors, including J.R.R. Tolkien. Through conversation with these group members, he was convinced to become a Christian. Like Richard Dawkins, Lewis wrote a number of books. Some of his more well-known non-fiction works include Mere Christianity and The Problem of Pain. However, he also wrote a number of fiction works, the most well-known of which is the Chronicles of Narnia series.
The Chronicles of Narnia, one of the most well-beloved books written by C.S. Lewis. He originally wrote them more for children, but adults like them too. And I actually have here an official Narnia passport.
It's official.
It's official. Don't you wish you had one?
I do wish I had one. And we're going to actually be giving all of you a passport to Narnia in our coming episodes.
That's right. We are going to take each of the books in the series and we're going to do a little review on each of those books. So we invite you to keep watching and remember to share these videos with other people, get other people to watch them, and we encourage your feedback. Thank you so much to those who have already emailed us, and we'd like to hear from more of you. We'll see you next time.